Welcome to Daily News Simplified, an answer to what, why, and how of newspaper reading. Today, we're going to discuss the important issues appearing in the Hindu newspaper dated 19th May 2018. Let's begin. The next news appears on page number 9. Here the news reads, Governor's discretion has its limits. Supreme Court ruled in 2016 that a governor's choice of action must not be arbitrary or fanciful. This article specifically pertains to the constitutional limits of a governor's discretion as well as governor's discretion to appoint pro tem speaker. Now, the issue of governor's discretion has also been covered by Mangal sir few days back. In this article, let us understand about the term discretion as well as the constitutional limits, also the power to appoint a pro tem speaker, as the issue of pro tem speaker has again came into significance. So first of all, let us understand this concept of pro tem speaker. When the offices of both the speaker as well as the deputy speaker are vacant, then the duties of the office of speaker are performed by such members of the house as the president or the governor may appoint. And here you can see under Article 180 Clause 1, it shall be the duty of the governor to appoint such a pro tem speaker for any state legislative assembly, whereas under Article 95 Clause 1, it shall be the duty of the president to appoint any pro tem speaker when the offices of speaker and the deputy speaker are vacant. So here we see the word may has been used. So this word in a way provides discretionary power to the president as well as the governor to appoint a pro tem speaker. Generally, the senior most person of the house is chosen as the pro tem speaker. So here we see that both the president as well as the governor has certain discretionary power even with respect to appointment of a pro tem speaker. The discretion given to a governor is subject to certain constitutional limitations. So let us understand first the word discretion. Now such discretionary power must be exercised with caution and in a reasonable manner. Discretion cannot be exercised under dictation or for an improper purpose. Discretion shall not be exercised in bad faith or by taking into considerations which are irrelevant. It can also not be exercised in an arbitrary or a whimsical manner or on preference rather than reason or fact. So we understand by going through these provisions on discretion that even discretionary power of a governor has certain constitutional limits. As you can read in this particular Supreme Court Constitution bench where the court said area for the exercise of the governor's discretion is limited. Even in this limited area, his choice of action should not be arbitrary or fanciful. This was the exact thing which we just saw. It must be a choice dictated by reason, actuated by good faith, and tempered by caution. Thus, we understand that the grounds on which discretionary decisions are taken by the governor becomes important and can be judicially reviewed by the Supreme Court of India, as was done with respect to the case of Arunachal Pradesh government in the Nebam Rabia judgment. It was in the case of S.R. Bomai versus Union of India in 1994. It was held that in case of a hung assembly where no political party has obtained a clear majority, the final decision rests not with the feuding political parties but through a floor test. It means that whether a political party or a group of political party has majority must always be decided on the floor of the house. In this article, we understood that constitutional good faith requires an informed act of discretion resting on sound basis with an aim to provide a stable government. And it is precisely the reason why the Supreme Court has held that governor's discretion has its limits. So in this particular article, we saw about constitutional limits on governor's discretionary power. Also, we saw that grounds on which governor reaches his decision can be asked in a court of law or can be judicially reviewed, as well as the decision of the president as well as the governor to appoint pro tem speaker under Article 95 for the president as well as under Article 180 Clause 1 for the governor. This news comes within GS paper 2 under the Indian Constitution under features, significant provisions and basic structure. Also functions and responsibilities of the union and the states, as well as issues and challenges pertaining to the federal structure. Thus, the discretionary power of a governor becomes an extremely important topic with respect to UPSC examination. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news appears on page number 6. The news reads, Balancing Conflicting Claims. In this news, It reads, the 15th Finance Commission has to take a call on the degree of equalization that's feasible. This news refers to the terms of reference of the 15th Finance Commission, which is headed by Shri N.K. Singh. This article, with reference to 15th Finance Commission, specifically talks about using 2011 data instead of 1971, whether revenue deficit grants should be given or not, horizontal allocations of funds, as well as a way forward. So let us discuss each of these provisions one by one. First of all, let's discuss about the terms of reference of the 15th Finance Commission. The term of reference of the 15th Finance Commission have the following key aspects, namely the mandate for using the 2011 population, whether revenue deficits grants should be given at all or not. Third, the impact of goods and services tax, that is GST, on finance of center and states, the reference to the conditionalities on state borrowing, and providing performance incentives in respect of some contentious indicators. With respect to using 2011 population figures, the southern states have apprehended that they stand to lose under the so-called population criteria if the 2011 population replaces the usage of 1971 figures. This is because the larger size of the population, the larger is the magnitude of fiscal transfer. Thus, losses or gains depends on the relative weights attached to different criteria and changes in other information including gross state domestic product. Thus, there is a case under the present circumstances to have a relook and lower the weight attached particularly to the population and income distance criteria. The next issue with respect to term of reference is whether revenue deficit grants should be given or not. As per the term of reference regarding revenue deficit grant does not necessarily imply that grants given under Article 275 Clause 1 should be discontinued. Even though there is a strong case to discontinue revenue deficit grants based on gap filling, but the revenue deficit grants should be continued under Article 275 Clause 1 based on more acceptable principles. As you can read about Article 275, since we have mentioned with respect to revenue deficit grant, under Article 275, Centre provides grants to states in need of assistance by an Act of Parliament, and different sums may be fixed for different states. These grants are fixed by Parliament every 5 years on the basis of recommendations of the Finance Commission under Article 280 Clause 3. These grants are also referred as statutory grants since they are through an Act of Parliament. And Finance Commission recommends principles which shall govern such grants in aid of the revenue of states. The idea underlying these grants is to transfer resources to the poor states who do not have adequate means of revenue or who are susceptible to natural calamities like floods, famines, etc. So in this, the article suggests that revenue deficit grants should be continued based on more acceptable principles. The 15th Finance Commission has to take a call on the degree of equalization that's feasible. Under the principle of equalization, transfers aim to equalize fiscal capacities, thereby enabling states to provide services at comparable standards. In this respect, equalization grants are policy neutral and need not be sector specific. However, till now, the Finance Commission have used the equity principle, due to which relatively well-off states have lost their share. The Finance Commission now has a difficult task to resolve competing claims of different group of states. This can be best done by adhering to the most appropriate principles, including that of policy neutrality. In this respect, what should be the way forward? In this, the author have suggested that fiscal transfers in India have long been characterized by two major inefficiency, basically use of dated population figures as well as gap filling approach. Implementing a comprehensive equalization approach would overcome these deficiencies. This requires estimating states' fiscal capacities reflecting their tax base, and to assess the expenditure needs, cost, and use disabilities should also be incorporated. Thus, in this news, we saw about the terms of reference, how by using 2011 population, southern states stand to lose, as larger the population, larger is the magnitude of fiscal transfer, and it is here in this case where the southern states are losing in terms of population. We also saw whether revenue deficit grants should be allowed or not under Article 275 Clause 1. And with respect to Article 275, we also saw that under Article 275, Centre provides grants to states in need of assistance through an Act of Parliament. Then we also saw horizontal allocation through principle of equalization. And in the principle of equalization, we saw transfer aims to equalize fiscal capacities and enabling states to provide services at comparable standards. And in this, we saw the importance of neutrality of policy. In this, we saw how the Finance Commission has to take a call on degree of equalization with respect to allocation of funds to different states. And in the way forward, we saw that there are two major inefficiencies with respect to fiscal transfer. First of all is use of dated population and then gap filling approach. And this can be compensated by implementing a comprehensive equalization approach. So with this, we have tried to understand the different aspects as explained in this particular article. This topic pertains to GS paper 3, that too under Indian economy and issues related to planning, mobilization of resources, growth, development and employment. Thus, this becomes an important and interesting topic with respect to UPSC syllabus. So the issue of 15th Finance Commission and its terms of reference has now assumed greater significance considering the competing demands made by southern states. An understanding of the terms of reference of the 15th Finance Commission becomes extremely important. With this, let's move on to the next news. On page number 5, we find this news: online resource for academicians soon, where they can connect with experts, access books and journals in their fields of study. Now, in this particular news, the government is planning to launch a portal for Indian academicians to enhance their research and training skills by connecting with experts in their respective fields. Now, this news with respect to enhancing research and training skills by connecting with experts comes in the UPSC syllabus under GS paper 2 and specifically under issues relating to development and management of social sector services relating to education. In this regard, the National Institute of Education Research and Planning, that is NIEPPA, is in the process of rolling out an initiative which is part of Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Training. And this particular portal will be launched with detailed information on resources in some of the key subjects such as history, political science, sociology, economics, physics, chemistry, mathematics and biology, including education and management. So we see that through these portals, the academicians will be able to take expertise help in their particular field. In this regard, let us also understand about National Institute of Education Planning and Administration, that is NIEPPA, as well as Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Training. Now you can see NIEPA, that is National Institute of Education Planning and Administration, has been established by the Ministry of Human Resource and Development and is a premier organization dealing with capacity building and research in planning and management of education, not only in India but also in South Asia. So here we understood some of the key facts regarding NIEPA, and these key facts becomes important with respect to your both prelims as well as mains examination. In the prelims, what becomes important about NIEPA is that it has been established by the Ministry of Human Resource and Development and is a premier organization dealing with capacity building, research in planning and management of education, and this is being done not only in India but also in South Asia. So we learnt about NIEPA. Now let us also understand about Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Training. Now this program on teachers and training basically addresses the shortcomings of the teachers and try to fill up the gap. Here you can see it addresses various shortcomings relating to teachers and teaching across educational spectrum ranging from school education to higher education, including technical education, using the best international practices for excellence. So in this, what is important to remember is that it addresses the gaps or the shortcomings related to teachers and teaching process, and it includes school education to higher education as well as technical education. So these three facts with respect to National Mission on Teachers and Training becomes extremely important. Here it reads, it will also empower teachers and faculty through training, retraining, refresher and orientation programs in generic skills, pedagogic skills, discipline-specific content upgradation, information and communication technology, and technology-enabled training and other appropriate inventions. This mission tries to reskill those teachers through training, retraining, through refresher and orientation programs, pedagogic skills, discipline-specific content upgradation, and also emphasizes the use and integration of technology in the training process. In this, we have learned about both NIEPA as well as Pandit Madan Mohan Malviya National Mission on Teachers and Training. So, specific prelims question can be asked on NIEPA as well as on National Mission on Teachers and Training. And as we have already seen, this comes within the purview of GS paper 2 under Education and Human Resources. With this, let's move on to the next news. The next news appears on page number 10. The news reads, European Union moves to save Iran nuclear deal. The European Commission takes steps to shield firms from US sanctions. EIB, that is European Investment Bank, to back investment in Iran. The US President Donald Trump last week pulled out of the 2015 international deal with Iran to curb its nuclear program. It is in this respect the European Commission has launched a formal process to activate the blocking statute. The purpose of activating this blocking statute is to reassure those European Union firms that invested in Iran after the deal. Thus, the European Union has taken formal steps by activating the blocking statute to protect EU firms from US sanctions on Iran. In this respect, the European Commission would also remove hurdles for the European Investment Bank to finance activities in Iran. So in this respect, let us also understand the objective of this blocking statute. The blocking statute forbids European Union companies from complying with the extraterritorial effects of US sanctions. The blocking statute allows European Union companies to recover damages arising from US sanctions, and the blocking statute nullifies the effect of any foreign court judgments based on UN sanctions in the European Union. This news is in transition as the blocking statute is yet to be passed by the Parliament of European Union. Now this topic with respect to blocking statute becomes important to understand with respect to your main syllabus of international relations. So in this article we saw about the blocking statute, whose purpose is to reassure those European Union firms which invested in Iran after the 2015 Iran nuclear deal, because now the US has pulled out of the 2015 international deal with Iran, and it is in this respect that the European Union has taken formal steps to activate the blocking statute to protect firms of the European Union from US sanctions on Iran. And the objectives of blocking statute are: it does not allow the extraterritorial effect of the US sanctions, it allows the European Union companies to recover damages arising from US sanctions, and it nullifies the effect of any foreign court judgments based on US sanctions. As we know, this news on blocking statute by European Union is in transition, so we'll wait and watch how this news progresses further. This news becomes important issue with respect to your international relations syllabus of UPSC. With this, let's move on to the next news. Now we move to page number 11. The news reads, DOT, that is Department of Telecommunication, okays eSIMs, will allow machine-to-machine talk. Now in this news, the Department of Telecommunication has issued guidelines for the use of eSIM or Embedded Subscriber Identity Module. What is this eSIM and what is the use of eSIM? The eSIM or Embedded Subscriber Identity Module is a virtual equivalent of a normal SIM card and is embedded in the device itself. It means that these eSIMs cannot be removed from the device but can be updated over the air. So in time to come, the use of eSIM will increase. Hence, it's important to know as a UPSC aspirant about eSIMs, because these basic points about eSIMs becomes important even with respect to your prelims examination. So let us also understand what are the benefits of using these eSIMs. In case of using eSIMs, a user can decide to change the operator with a simple phone call, as there is no physical SIM involved here. So using the operator network, for example, say from BSNL to Idea or Vodafone or Airtel or Jio, it can be done easily through a phone call. In this, a new SIM is not required, and hence there shall not be any delay in switching the eSIM for the new operator. Since no new physical SIM is required, hence there will also be no physical swapping of the SIMs as required by user. So changing service provider or buying a new connections as per the DOT guidelines becomes easier. As per the guidelines, the Department of Telecommunication has allowed profile updation over the air to facilitate mobile number portability. This profile updation over the air will avoid any locking of the device by a telecom operator. So as we can see, these are some of the benefits of having a embedded SIM. Along with the guidelines for eSIM, the Department of Telecommunication has also issued instructions for SIMs that will be used for machine to machine learning or M2M communication. Now, machine to machine learning is a broad label that can be used to describe any technology that enables network devices to exchange information and perform action without manual assistance of human beings. In M2M, sensors and communication modules are embedded with M2M devices, enabling data to be transmitted from one device to another device through wired as well as wireless communication networks. Example for M2M device can be alert sent from car to a mobile over less fuel, faulty parts, car theft, remote surveillance of premises, etc. This M2M communication of late is being used across various sectors such as in the marketing field, in the financial sectors, in the banking sectors, etc. It is important to know in this regard, as per the guidelines by Department of Telecommunication, all SIMs for M2M will be a 13-digit number. In this news, we saw about eSIM, that is Embedded Subscriber Identity Module. That is, it's a virtual equivalent of a normal SIM card, is embedded in the device, hence it cannot be removed from the device, and these SIMs can be updated over the air. And the benefits of these eSIMs are that user can change operator network very easily without losing much time. And since no new physical SIM is required, hence profile updation gets over the air and it facilitates mobile number portability. And also to change an operator, locking of the device by telecom operator is no longer required. Thus, these are some of the benefits of eSIM. And in this respect, we also learned something about machine to machine learning or M2M communication. And as per the DOT guidelines, all SIMs for M2M shall be a 13-digit number. This becomes an important piece of information with respect to UPSC examination. We also learned that under M2M technology enables network devices to exchange information and perform action without manual assistance of human beings. Thus, this M2M becomes an important topic with respect to your UPSC examination. This topic gets covered under GS paper 3 and specifically under Science and Technology Developments and their application and effects in everyday life, and also awareness in the field of information technology. Also, indigenization of technology and developing new technology. And this news on eSIMs becomes important. With this, we come to an end to today's newspaper. Let's move on to the question for the day.